Heroes and Legends, Generations 4, The Holy War, Episode 25, The Last Battle of the Dimensions. Seeing Nakuvi's forces surviving under the umbrella of their powerful leader, the three kingdoms decided that it was now time to take the fight directly to Nakuvi. And so they combined their forces into a strong alliance. All the elite officers, those that were not guarding key territories in the universe, like Hognos and Jedi and Fong in the Oberon clan space. Everyone of the elders, the Builderon, and the Union all stood in this battle. For all their might and skills and strategy, they raced to Nakuvi's castle, where the Rishian forces were waiting. Giant mechs, giant opponents, all were waiting for them. The final battle was close at hand. Nakuvi sits in his throne room, waiting for the battle to begin, yearning to have that duel with Damien once and for all. However, he had a deep, dark secret, a trump card not even his own forces knew about, lying in wait at the end of this battle, determining its outcome long before it starts. As the Allied forces marched, many began to think about their past selves, what this war, the end of this war, could truly mean, and if they will walk out of this war alive. One such factor was that of Lash. He remembered his confrontation with Hetama, formerly known as the Red Warrior, where his staff was broken by Lash's skills. The staff controlled Hetama's mind under the guise of Zarya's power. Hetama was freed, and Lash knew it. Before the battle, Scotia forces, under the ban of the Erishians, prepared for themselves a battle. Reluctantly, they prepared. Hetama, however, was having doubts. He had realized his folly in working with the Erishians, and let the disguise of a name get to him. However, he will not make that same mistake. He was vowed to correct his error in this battle, some way, somehow. As the battle began, all the forces were gathering strength, and chaos consumed the entire area. Destruction, fire, blood. Everyone was everywhere. Everything and more was everywhere. Powerful Orishian mechs began to march, blasting beyond Allied forces. The castle was being bombarded by the telecon tanks and artillery. However, a strong barrier was guarding it. There was a barrier by Olga. She was protecting it. Within the castle, Catherine was healing key figures and key troops in the Erishians. One such person made a comment about it. It was Butter of the Thompson. He chewed and noted, "Is it just me? Or these forces just keep on getting up? It's hard to fight when our enemy is clearly immortal." And then Thomas then declared, "It must be the enemy. Someone is using powerful magic against us to revive the enemies. Someone must do something." And Damien II knew that it was Catherine. Somehow he allowed to get through this barrier to get to her. He knew her more than anyone, that her heart was not into this and working for an evil father. The battle commenced. Hundreds of thousands were dying instantly. The battle and all the officers and heroes of the age all assumed in one place. It was a truly epic mess. Elsewhere, as the battle continued on, next off, Van confronted Calvin and told him that at the end of this battle, he must leave Baja and go to the Risi and live. Calvin was not sure what his Lord had meant. He then said, I had a vision from heaven. I knew that at the end of this battle, certain changes will occur, a devastating event. But whatever happens, you must not look back. Please, I know in my heart that I can't say anything to no one but you. If I did, or if I do, then the events, although destructive, that must happen, cannot happen. So please, heed my warnings. Calvin held these things in his heart as they continued to fight on. Elsewhere, Omri, Monica, Herman, Nabaka, and Dimitar Colonial, the trio of the top insurance forces, were back to back to each other, surrounded by enemies, all powered up and prime form, ready for action. Dimitar commented, It seems my lord has gotten himself in quite a mess. And then Herman then said, my lord, we've come a long way. If we get through this alive, then surely the dimensions will know peace. And then Omri finally said, my brothers, my men, you two have been by my side thick and thin. But now, let's put our shoulders to the wheel and prove ourselves worthy from this day forward. After this battle, we must live and survive and usher in the new age. Let's go. The three men separated, dueling and slaying enemies the best way they can. Elsewhere, Hatama and Lash finally confronted each other. These two powerhouses, Lash being a secret agent and Hatama a fierce fighter, were equally matched in skill. They discussed their woes towards this war and fighting each other. They knew that their two forces could survive and thrive together. And they saw that the end of the Irishans, and quite possibly all those involved in this battle, was nigh at hand. If they could slowly survive and watch everyone kill each other, then they could pick up the scraps and possibly take over. And so they sent messages between their forces. We are slowly withdrawing, they said. And so slowly but surely, amidst the chaos, the Scotian and civic forces began to retreat and slip away out of the battlefield. Also, in the forces, the powerful Haitian forces began to push back against the Allies. They were suffering major casualties, and many top officers were losing their lives. Such example was Thomas Purple, the husband of Hakari and one of her longtime friends. Lord Palmuso was extensively more stronger than ever, and easily broke the spear of farmers and used his spear, Thomas's own spear, to cut his legs off. Then he had a chokehold on Thomas, raised him up in the air, and used his bare hands to tear him in two. Seeing this, Hakari was full of rage and vowed to avenge her husband. And so she went after Palmuso. Lightning point, she said. Lightning point went directly to Palmuso, and Palmuso took it like a man. And then he charged at Hakari. The two clashed as Hakari was struggling, although she was at full power. Lord Palmuso was greatly pleased that he was now on equal terms, even quite stronger than the most strongest person in the universe. Finally, he said, I am top dog. I could kill you, and my name will scorch the very universe itself. Hakari had faced many battles from her younger days. From the days she first set out to gain Kichuru, all the way to the time when she built her own independence and won the universe from Anjosaka. Now, she faced certain doom, as Lord Palmuso easily outfunded the lightning bringer and a thunder sword, and she had no power left to make a thunder sword, and the other sword was in her hand, and she collapsed. All the other forces were fighting bravely in their own battles and could not assist. Things seemed hopeless for Akari as death was slowly creeping in. When suddenly, within her bosom, in her womb, she felt something. She had a vision. It was Darius, an unknown child with him. Akari cried out, "Darius, is that you?" she said, and he said, "Yes. Be one with me again. Our child is here. We thus combined our powers to strike down this foe, and so you could live in peace with me." And then Akari then combined with Darius and her child. You see in the floor, Bilderon and Josica was now one. As a result of this, Akari got back up and used her sword for one final devastating attack. And Josica is seeing blast. It was a pure strength of Bilderon and a Josica unity, the strength in which should have been brought up a long time ago, but never, better late than never. Laba Muso, being arrogant, decided to take the blast head on, but it was the most powerful attack that ever could have been produced. And Laba Muso was struck through the gut. He collapsed on his knees and laughed. At long last, a worthy opponent. He collapsed, dead. Kaklin, Laba Muso's best friend, was also fighting on the Rishian side. Couldn't believe that his lord and master was dead. "Laba Muso, no!" And then seeing both his mother and father dead, Koki raced to his mother's side as she was now dying. Akari then said her last words to her son. "My son, I have reunited with my lost child and Darius. I am at peace now. You must succeed me. Our quarrels with the elders are over. Win this war and usher in a new age of peace between all of our sides. Lead as you see fit. Beta, Thomas, Laura, Master Tero, forgive me." And then Akari passed away. Koki's first orders as the new emperor of the universe was to declare the rivalry with the elders over, and ordered all his forces to fight to the bitter end to eradicate the Rishians and secure an everlasting peace. Damien II was glad to hear this and vowed that he would find some way to end it all. Catherine, who was in the castle, couldn't believe her ears. This was amazing. I'm the aftermath of this. The Allen clan, Allen Jr., and the rest of his forces saw that then Josica was alive and well within the Bilderon, and they realized then they had made a terrible mistake. So they turned on the Irishans, and they turned their blades on Levern Shazin, who was now pissed on their sudden betrayal, and he vowed for vengeance. As the battle continued to commence, Damien I used his overwhelming power to break through the barrier of Olga and finally confronted Nakuvi. Nakuvi was very impressed that Damien had showed up, but not surprised that he broke through the barrier. "Damien, how I yearned for this day." He then took out his sword. Damien did likewise. "It's time to end you, Nakuvi. Your reign of terror and evil ends here." And then the two forces began to fight each other. As all this fighting and chaos was going on, Damien II ordered Hatesh to lead the vanguard. As he was finally going towards the castle, Hatesh then bowed to his lord and wished him blessings. Damien II raced towards the burial. Olga, seeing all this, knowing that this might be the only chance to free herself from her corrupt and evil husband, decided to lower the shields, and her part in this war was done. Damien II, surprised that he didn't have to use much force to get through, knowing that the shields were down, and knowing that this was the chance for them to counterattack. He signaled Artesh, who signaled to the Telecon and the Union forces to begin bombardment of the castle. Damien II then thanked Olga and ran inside the castle. Sarkis, Nakuvi's second in command, saw that the castle was being attacked. He was then pissed, but Olga had dropped the guard, and he vowed for vengeance, and knowing that Damien II would come soon. Elsewhere, Damien II was able to confront Catherine, and the two shared a moment together. Catherine, Damien II said, and then Catherine said, Damien. The two then embraced each other, and then went for a romantic kiss. Afterwards, Catherine then said, please, Damien, none of us are powerful enough to face Father. Please, help your father defeat mine. Damien II then said, I know your father is evil and corrupt, but do you have any feelings for your father before I do this? And then she said, no, I have no feelings for a monster. Now please, end all of our suffering and end that demon. And so Damien II nodded his head and ran towards the goal. Elsewhere, the healing abilities of the Irishans had finally dropped, and now the Irishian side were now losing key allies. The Allied forces realized that victory could soon be theirs, and the final push towards this bloody war was on. As time went on, Sarkis went to confront Damien II and vowed to stop him. You fool! You dare stand on my lord's ambition? Then you shall die. Sarkis then used his black sword to quickly do away with Damien II. But Damien II had much training done since the last war and was vowed much stronger. And Damien II confronted him with his sword, and he turned his sword into blaster guns and nunchucks and throwing knives, overwhelming Sarkis, and the two began to duel. Sarkis then used all his might and all his swordplay, and the final slash to slash Damien II in two. However, like his father, Damien II was able to separate himself and brought himself together long enough to find an opening and cut through Sarkis' deep wound into his chest, and then went to his back and did a similar deep wound. Sarkis dropped his sword, knowing that he had been defeated. My lord, please accept my service and win this war for your glory. Sarkis now lay dead. Damien II began to race to the main throne room where his father and Nakuvi were fighting. Damien II noted Sarkis. He was truly a loyal man, loyal to the end. How unfortunate, but he had to be loyal to such a monster as Nakuvi. Do not worry, everyone, all those that have died and continue to die even as I run to this final door. Your lives will be avenged. The true evil of this universe, all time and space, will be vanquished today. And Damien II burst through the doors and saw his father fighting Nakuvi. And he too shouted, Nakuvi, prepare yourself. And the two Damiens walked side by side to each other to face Nakuvi. Nakuvi was stunned. So it seems all my best efforts to keep you two apart have failed. Very well. I was hoping to do this myself. At long last, I could use my full power. Now prepare for the ultimate destruction upon you. And then Nakuvi unleashed his full power. His power was shockwaves throughout the entire battlefield. But because the battlefield was so intense, the battle was so intense, fighting still continued, but all were now at awe. For Nakuvi was at full strength, not one to be outdone. The two Damiens, father and son duo, turned up the heat as well, and Damien II were now at full strength. The three men clashed, and the two Damiens held their own against the powerful Nakuvi, who was now at full power. Realizing that this was the first time The Nakuvi was in full power. The two Damians had to act fast to end him quickly before he would get the jump on them. They used their might and their skills and their special abilities to work together as one to beat back this powerful foe. Nakuvi was very impressed by their skills. However, he had a trump card in place, and he was about very confident in the use of it. As the battle dragged on, the forces of all sides still fought on bravely to the very end. Nakuvi used his powerful might and the swordplay to dodge the Damian's attacks, but still nothing worked. Nakuvi was too strong, and their attacks barely did any damage. But now it was time for Damian I to reveal his own trump card. Armor of God, Radiance of Virtue, come forth. And then Damian I then transformed a giant shield of fate and a sword of the spirit, full armor of God, with the Radiance of Virtue. His ultimate full power had returned. Nakuvi was stunned. He had fought the armor of God and Radiance of Virtue were gone forever. What? Impossible! And then he saw that Damian II too had power up some more. He's using all his weapons and everything at his disposal into his sword and shield of his own. The two Damians poised themselves for one final attack. Nakuvi was very impressed. He now knew that he faced two equally strong Damians at this point. He marveled at their courage and how far the two men have come. Come, show me the strength of the elder forces. Show me the strength of the Damian clan. And so the two men raced, zigzagging across the entire throne room. Nakuvi can use his powers to see through. However, the two Damians were moving too fast. Nakuvi could not pinpoint which one was going to attack him first. And then suddenly, one from the front and one from behind. The two Damians slashed their swords in a perfect circular motion, attempting to cut Nakuvi in half. However, Nakuvi's strength and power kept his body together, but his internal organs were all damaged. And then he dropped his sword and collapsed on all fours. Nakuvi was now officially dying at this point. The two Damians went to finish Nakuvi off once and for all. However, Nakuvi had another trump card. His main trump card all in all. He laughed, coughing up blood. Well done, you two. Destroying me at last. The one thing the other Damian can never do. I'm impressed. The power of your so-called righteousness is indeed strong. Damian II then said, Nakuvi, your reign of evil and terror is over. Prepare to fall. Then his father stopped him and said, Nakuvi, why you laugh as you're confident? What evil scheme do you have now? And Nakuvi then said, all the while I was here, I've made myself the very heart of these dimensions. The core of the dimensions is now in me. All this time in this war, this was my plan. To destroy me would mean the very end of the dimensions, and the rest dying and killing all those you worked so hard to save. Can you really, truly look at yourselves and be responsible for so much innocent lives? Oh, Damien, you already killed one innocent life. What's a trillion more? Damien II then said, can't be. Father, surely he just. And then Damian I then said, no. I know Nakuvi. He's serious. But if we don't put an end to him now, we'll never have another chance like this. But at the same time, if we do put an end to him, then many of us will die. That's the sacrifice that we must make. For future generations will look back on this day and know that our sacrifice was warranted. Stand back, my son. I must be the one to cut him down. Then Damien II, complex and confused, looked outside the window and saw everyone still fighting. wondering for their safety. Damien the First then went on to slice Nakuvi's throat, and Nakuvi lay dead. And just as Nakuvi said, the whole dimensions began to shake. The ground crumbled. Terrible storms appeared everywhere. It was like the whole place was about to blow. Everywhere, as far away as Tropical, and all the other places and dimensions were shaking. The Allied forces had no idea, nor the Rishians had no idea what was going on. It was as a result of something that happened in the castle, they said, and no one knew what was going to happen. It was then that Nixdorf knew that his prophecy that he has foresawn was coming true, and so he turned to prime form into an angel and raced towards the sky. And G4, another angel of the Elder's forces, also raced upon the sky, and then Tribune himself had arrived, and Olga, using her power of light, to somehow hold off the destruction of dimensions long enough for every living being and soul to return to the universe or be placed on an habitable planet where they could live, as dimensions will never be born again, but the dimensions were about to be destroyed permanently. These heroes, Nixdorf, Tribune, G4, and Olga, would sacrifice themselves to rescue all. Damien II saw that what they was doing and thanked them. Then Catherine tried to run towards the two Damiens, but it was too late. A bright light had taken up all the living forces that remained inside of the entire dimensions, and the entire dimensions then exploded. These 4 elite heroes will go down in history as brave men and women that have saved us all. They were killed. The dimensions were no more, and everyone had vanished. As a result of this battle, people that died in this battle, the battle itself, included Anna Torture, Jerome Nassau, Viceroy Marvin, Anfi, Huffy, Tobias, Thomas Pipple, X-15, Siendo, Ashanda Rev, LG Gray, Farrington, Akari Urker Essene, Joshua Mayo, Tribune, Saul Dakota, G4 Nixdorf, GC Volt, Fran, Brian, Bailey Monica, Bodo, Adol Azul, and Newell, Cody Royal, Alan Royal, Cisco Me, Deputy Prime Minister Blake, Olga, Safira, Seti, Lord Bamusu, Levon, Shenzhen, Jerissa, Marine, Tuki, Shitao, Sarkis, and Nakuvi, and countless others, troops and forces. At battle's end, these were the dead. But as for the alive, and those that remained and survived, where in the universe are they?